Hello there, everybody. Just want to give a little update on what's going on in my local area. So I'm in southeastern Wisconsin, kind of right between Milwaukee and Chicago, and the real estate market is going really well, including new home building. On pace with what was happening last year as far as new home building. With the amount of people that I'm meeting with that want to build homes, and real estate listing existing homes, land, everything is kind of flying off the shelves. I mentioned in one of my last videos that I had over $10 million of real estate listings, and most of that was vacant land. And I've got a lot of big vacant land parcels, including farmland that has potential to be commercial land. Well, I had a 150 acre farm that I had listed, and got an accepted offer over the weekend on 100 acres of that. So that to date is my biggest. So the accepted offer amount is $1,050,000. So super excited about that, and everything seems good. Great buyers. It was something that I met with these clients, and they aren't working with a realtor either, which is excellent. If you know anything about real estate, typically when you list a property, you're going to agree upon a certain percentage that you're going to list the property for. You're going to agree upon that with the seller. And you're going to agree, if you're putting the property on the MLS, or even if you're not, you're agreeing to pay another incoming realtor who has buyers. You're agreeing to pay them a certain percentage. Typically it's 2.4%. And that's going to come out of the total percentage that you're going to make on the transaction. Well, in this case, because the buyers weren't working with a realtor, they actually called me. They were looking online for a while. They were looking for a farm, and that's what this was. It was 150 acres, an old farmhouse, barn, pole building, and they weren't working with the realtor, so they called me. I met them over there right away, and we started kind of going back and forth with negotiations. I want to say that night that they contacted me after they looked at it and said that they wanted to move ahead with an offer. So there were 3 sellers involved, and that's can be tricky. A lot of times, family. So sometimes that doesn't go as smooth as it did here. So I'm very grateful that everything went smoothly, and it's definitely, I mean, this is what you're trying to achieve in real estate. You're trying to achieve a win for, you want the buyer to be happy and the seller to be happy, and that's how you create a deal. The buyer feels like they're getting value, they're getting what they need, the seller is getting what they need out of the sales price, and that creates a good transaction. Now, of course, there are things that, there are no contingencies aside from financing. So I don't have a inspection that's going to derail anything. And I feel like the comps, there was just a farm recently right behind this one that sold for right about the same price per acre. And if you're wondering, it actually ended up selling. We sold 100 of the 150 acres. It ended up selling for $10,500 an acre. And here in Wisconsin, that is definitely top dollar for farmland. Before this, I would say $10,000 was top dollar. Now we kind of set, at least in our area, our farmland set the market. So basically, the sales price that we got is higher than any farmland that is sold around us at all, unless this was, unless it was farmland that had potential for commercial or development. But this is just straight up farmland, tillable. It's never going to be developed or anything like that. So really excited there. Just got to follow through with everything, keep both sides of the party moving forward until we get to the closing, because in real estate you can't count on anything until you get to the closing. There's all kinds of things that can happen, and that's just part of being in the real estate industry. So I'm feeling really good about how things are going. We're at the end of August here, 2021. I was unsure about how things were going to shake out this year. We've had a couple of, going back to the beginning of the year, we were still dealing with COVID, so unsure how, and I know we still are now, but unsure how everything was going to shake out there. And even going back to the previous year, when everything first started there, we definitely had a slowdown with real estate, with new construction, and we ended up basically getting through that and finished very strongly for the end of 2020. And then coming into 2021, again, that was something that was kind of, looming, and wasn't sure if that was gonna have an impact. And then starting in March, pretty much our lumber prices just went crazy, and that did end up having an impact on the housing market, especially new construction. And I would say right around the month of, say mid-June to mid-July, things were slow. I think at that time, lumber was going up like $2,000 a week. So a lot of people were just saying, you know what, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to build right now. We're going to just wait and see how everything shakes out. Okay, real quick, I want to jump in. I've been talking forever about this course that I'm going to be coming out with that is basically every step of the process for you to build a spec home, from getting financing all the way to selling your spec home, and every little detail in between. Well, it's done. It's ready. So if you're interested in it, let me know. I'll send you the link for it. You can check out all of the topics that are included with the course. Thank you. Definitely can't blame them for that. I mean, the saving grace that we've had is that interest rates remain low, so that is what's keeping everything going. And if somebody asks me what my outlook is for the rest of the year, I'll certainly say that we're going to finish strong with the housing industry for the rest of the year. At least everything that I see and that I'm looking at, I just feel like if interest rates don't go up, and they don't go up crazily, that things will continue to roll the way that they are. And we are, in my area, we're lucky. We're in a little bit of a bubble. When we had the last housing recession back in 2008, and it started really in 2006, other areas, if you go out to the coasts, the East Coast, the West Coast, those areas were impacted a lot more. There was more of a drastic, home prices were doubling, tripling, quadrupling from what they were. And then when we had the housing crash, they crashed drastically. Where in Wisconsin, it's not, with an existing home, if I look at, say, 2020, or even let's go to 2019, compare that to 2020, they're definitely, the prices weren't doubling on what, if you had a 2,000 square foot ranch that was somewhat newer of a build, that was selling for, we'll say, like, $400,000 in 2019, and in 2020 that was probably 425 to 430. And I'm not talking brand new construction. Let's say a 2,000 square foot ranch that was 10 years old. So there definitely wasn't doubling and tripling of prices to where, if we do go into another dip, we're not going to fall as hard. And so we're kind of lucky there. The other thing that we've got going for us is that, because of the way that Illinois is run and governed, and, people have been moving out of Illinois for years. There's a lot of people that are unhappy with Illinois, and they're moving right across the border to Wisconsin because they may still have family in Illinois, so it's easy for them to come across the border. And our property taxes are less, even though they're still really high in Wisconsin. They're less than they are in Illinois. And they're all around, there's just, positive compared to what it is in Illinois. So we get people that are moving for that reason. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the supply and demand of our local housing. It's for, the issue of they just aren't happy with Illinois. And then we do have a lot of, good businesses that are, Harborough. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They make they make gummy bears, and they're building a new factory in southeastern Wisconsin. We have Jelly Belly, which is another candy company. We've got all kinds of good businesses that are moving here. Foxconn is another one. Joking there. They are here. They are building things. They've got some buildings where they've got people working. I don't know what's going on there, but they definitely didn't deliver on what they said they were going to. That would have created even more of a boom in our area. But that's kind of what's going on here, and I'm very happy with everything, career-wise, life-wise, mental. I mean, everything. I'm very blessed, and I'm very happy, and I just wanted to share what's going on with my industry, and that's what my outlook is. If you asked me how is 2022 going to shape out, I guess at this point, because we're getting close to the end of 2021, I would say that I feel like the beginning of 2022, as long as we don't get a big hike in interest rates, are going to continue to be the same. And I want to throw this out there too. For the last 2 years, I have been seeing, I feel like a lot of people that put out videos on YouTube are trying to gain attention by having a negative headline, like housing crash is coming, or inflation is here, which, yes, inflation is here, it's coming. There are those types of things, but a lot of just negative titled videos, which are drawing people into watching those. And I've been seeing housing crash videos. The next housing crash is here, and this is why the housing market's going to crash, and the housing market has started to crash. And I've been seeing videos like that for 2 years, and things are still booming where I am. I know that's probably not the same in every part of the country, but I do work with clients all over the country, as far as clients that are building spec homes and doing new construction, and that directly translates into the existing housing market. And I'm not seeing a housing crash yet. So it's one of those things where if I wanted to put out a catchy video and try to get a ton of views, and I was thinking about doing this a couple years ago, I would put out a video. This is why the housing market is starting to crash right now. Here are the signs. And one could argue that, yeah, there probably are signs that are leading towards that. One for me is, if you look at a chart of the housing industry, traditionally, we'll say about every 10 years, you're getting to a peak, and then there's going to be a little bit of a downturn. Before the housing crash in 2006, we had at least 10 good years where things were going gangbusters, and then we had a little bit of a downturn, and from, we'll say 2008, that's when it was really, really felt, and everybody knew that was happening. That's when the banks were collapsing, and we were pumping and doing the stimulus rounds. And so from 2008 to say 2012, so about 4 years, we definitely were in a decline, and then we started to climb again. And again, I'm going off of Wisconsin here. I know this took longer for things to turn around in other parts of the country, because again, let's take California, for example. Their housing prices fell a lot more than ours did here in Wisconsin. So we didn't have as much of a gap to make up as they did. So 2012 for us was pretty decent. We were building a good number of homes. 2013 was better yet. 14, 15, we're climbing. Now we're at 2021. And, we've had, for me, we'll say between 2012 and 2021, we're about 9 years of a great housing market here. Now, I know if you take the average of all the states in the country, again, California may not have started to feel a positive momentum or shift in the housing industry until maybe they would say 2014 or 15. So then that's great. That gives us more, hey, we're going to have another 3-4 years of this till we get to 2024, 25, and then things may go down a little bit. But who cares? Things are going to go down. It's going to happen. It's not going to last forever. If we do have another housing crash, I don't feel it's going to be as bad as the one in 2008, because that one was really bad. That was, from what people said, that was the worst housing crash in, I want to say, maybe 30 years is kind of the thing that I heard. So you're not going to get that every time there's a downturn in the market. So I'm hopeful and I'm positive about that. And whatever happens, if you're good at what you do, you're going to survive through it. And there's definitely a way to survive through it. As a home builder, that doesn't mean that, okay, now we might be getting close to a downturn. So I'm going to stop doing this. Because we're getting close to a downturn now, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to do any more spec homes. I'm going to be ultra conservative. You don't have to pause everything. Maybe if you're somebody that's doing multiple spec homes, maybe you decide, you know what, going into next year, I'm only going to have 2 going at a time instead of 3 or 4, just to limit my exposure in case something does happen, or if you start to see more telltale signs that things are going to happen, you can kind of slow down a little bit. But the key thing, you know, in talking with a developer over the weekend is you don't want to have too much that you're holding onto out there. So you're buying all this land that you plan on developing. You buy this land and you're building all these apartments there, and you want to make sure that you're able to weather the storm. So if you do buy land and you're building a big apartment complex, make sure that if we have to pause for a couple of years or nobody's doing anything for a couple of years, you're going to be okay. So if you're going to buy a chunk of land, you're going to develop a subdivision, just know that something could happen, and make sure that you're prepared for no lot selling in 2 years, or maybe very minimal amount of lots selling within a 2 to 4 year period. And if you can manage and go through that, then you're good. You know, because then, you know, again, there's going to be another uptick. We're going to have another, you know, let's say 10 years of a good housing market. So that's just how things go. That's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you have a great rest of the day. If you don't subscribe to my channel, please do so. Catch more videos like this. You can hit the little bell for notifications. God bless.